Welcome back to the channel. And believe it or not, what you're seeing on the screen is a project completely made with Flutter. As we all know by now, Flutter Web is out, is still at the beginning stages, but you can do something with it already. I didn't want to do a simple program or simple application like a hello world. I wanted to do something functional. So on this video or on this playlist, I wanted to do on a single video, but it's not going to be possible. On this playlist, we are going to build a blog app using a blog website using Flutter. And as you can see, we have the login page, we have the registration. You can set the username. Okay, I'll have to reload. And sorry, it still has bugs, but yeah, you'll have to set the username. You can set the email, blah blah blah. You can just set anything, and the password. And just like that, create your account. And once your account is created, you're going to be redirected to a page like this, and we're still going to change the look of this. I just did it just for the sake of doing it, where we'll have a picture, a title of the post, and some text. And afterwards we can add like more functionalities to that, because most of this now is just static. And I'm going to add we are going to add this together. We are going to learn how to do the CRUD functionalities. So there's a lot of things you guys are going to learn from this playlist. First of all, this we are going to use MySQL and phpMyAdmin as the backend, not Firebase. And if you don't know MySQL or phpMyAdmin, don't worry, you don't have to learn it, because I will create APIs throughout the course. We'll create APIs to retrieve the posts and this and that. So if you don't want to learn SQL and PHP, I'll make those APIs available, so you just use the APIs on your Flutter projects. But if you want to learn how to take your server, your SQL server, create APIs from that and use on your Flutter projects, that's going to be amazing. I'm going to walk you through how to install Dart. Just quick things that you have to know. I hope you guys are excited, because I really am. And that's it. Let's get it. Hello, beautiful people. This first video will be kind of a setup video where I will tell you what you need to have, what to do in order to start using Flutter Web. First of all, there's this Git repo. You can come here, clone this project, and they have examples here and all. But at the beginning, to be honest, I tried to just come here and do this stuff, and I had a really hard time. It was difficult to understand, but so I will give you the tips on what I think you should do to make this work. Okay. First thing you have to do is to make sure that you are running Dart at least version 2.3 or above. If you don't have Flutter installed on your system, you just have to Google how to install Flutter, because I'm not really going to cover this here. There's a lot of videos on the internet about how to go about doing that, but I'm giving this tip for you guys that already have Flutter. Maybe you're running an older version of Dart, and if that's the case, if your version is below 2.3, this is not going to work and this is not going to run. But to do that, to update your Dart, you just have to come here to the Dart website. I'll leave the link on the description, and they have steps that you can walk through here for Mac, for Linux, and for Windows. Of course, for Windows is more simple. You just have to download this and next to have everything covered. Make sure your Dart version is 2.3 above. Okay, that's the first point. The second thing, I would advise you guys to go ahead and download Visual Studio Code. Why? Because I was trying to set everything up using Android Studio, and I really enjoy working with Android Studio, but I was having a lot of problems. So if you don't have Visual Studio Code, even you guys that have been following my videos, we'd advise you to go ahead and download a Visual Studio Code for whatever version of the system you're running. If you already have Visual Studio Code, I would advise you to go and update your Visual Studio Code. On Mac is easy, just come here and check for updates. This is what you have to do. So if you already have it, update it to the latest version. If you don't have it, download Visual Studio Code. Okay, perfect. The very last thing I want you guys to do is to update your Flutter to the version 1.5 or something like that. And to do that, you just have to run Flutter upgrade. And this is the code you have to run. I'm not going to run because it's going to take a lot of time, and I already did that. So update your Flutter, update the rule here, everything you're using has to be updated: the Dart, your Flutter SDK, your Visual Studio Code, and everything. Okay, perfect. Now we can go back to the repo, and hopefully after you updated everything, this will work. Okay, after you have everything updated, there's this command that you have to run. But before you run this command, they say here, ensure that you have this home pub bin on your path. Okay, if you're on Windows, you just have to add this line to your path, and you do that by going to settings, advanced settings, environment variables, and add this to your path the same way you did with Flutter. If you are on Mac, or you just have to go to your home directory, and in here you are going to open your bash profile, and you have to add this line. By now you already have the first line, export path users, and you just have to provide the Flutter path on the first line. This is what you have to do, provide the Flutter path, and down that line you just have to do the same path, but here on this here you have to copy this. You have to copy this line, and don't mistake it, this line is the same as this one. It's the same as this one, so it's the same thing. Okay, perfect. After that is done, and hopefully you don't run into issues, what's super likely because this is still not very stable and still under development. But after you done all of those steps, you updated everything and you set the path correctly, and I may leave some links in the description to videos where they actually teach you how to set everything up, and this I'm just giving you some tips on how to make things work. Yeah, so after that all is done, you can do this. If you are running let me close this project. Of course I want to save and then close it. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll close the project, and I have this on Android Studio. I'll just close it as well. So if you are running the latest version of Visual Studio Code, you have to come to your extensions and make sure you have Dart. You just have to click here, Dart, Dart, and you have to have the Dart extension installed. If you never used Android Studio, you have to have Dart extension installed, and then you have to have Flutter installed as well. You can go ahead and install Awesome Flutter because they're going to provide you some snippets, and this is super good. But this is not the point we want to get into here. After you have all of that done inside of your Visual Studio Code, you just press Command Shift P, and in here you are going to have the option saying Flutter new web project, and you want to click enter on that. And now they are going to ask you for the name of the project, and for example I can write here web blog, and then you have to set a path where your project will be installed. And I'll go to my Android Studio projects. You can set this anywhere, there is no rule. So after that is done, the project will be created. You just have to wait a bit while the project is being created. This may take a while, but in the meantime we can come back in here. So after we do that, after we have our project set there, we will have to run this command in here to activate our web view, our web dev. I'm sorry, not our web dev, not web view. So I can just come here, copy this, and mostly you'll get this one error saying blah blah blah, but this is nothing. It's not going to affect your code. What you have to do now is come to the terminal and just paste that code we copied from the git and hit enter. For the first time this may take a lot of time. For me it took a lot of time, like a lot of time, but after that it usually doesn't take that much time. So this will take some time. At the meantime, while that is processing, we can come in here. Well, since we want to use Flutter with MySQL database, you need to have a web server, but most of you guys don't have servers because most of us don't have websites running. But there's this amazing website, and I made a video already on how to connect Flutter with MySQL. I'll leave the link in the description because I'm not going to explain in a very deep detail. But we have this 000 web host where you can have a server for free with some limitations, but that's enough for the tutorial, and that's enough for you to use. I already have an account, but I'll go and create, just you guys can see the steps. Okay, so I'll use this email, and I have here the password. And then I hit sign up. Okay, I want to save it. And after this, what you have to do is go ahead and verify your email ID. So guys, I have already verified my email address. You just hit on get started after that, and I just want to skip this and skip this as well. So here they will provide you a website name, which is optional. Let me just copy this and I'll save somewhere I don't want to. I know I'm not going to. For the website name, I can just use Santos Enoque, for example. And of course you have to create your own website and not using my credentials, but that's not a big deal. So just hit next, and I'll just go and save my password somewhere, I'll not forget. So guys, here we have everything set up for now for our server part, and if we go back here, everything just performed the way it was supposed to. And now we can just go here and go in here, and we want to run this command, Flutter packages upgrade. Just to get the latest version of our dependencies. Make sure we have them all. At the meantime, I'm sorry for mixing topics, but because we don't want to wait, we'll go to database management and we will create a new database. Database name, we're going to call this blog DB, for example. For database username, we can just use Santos, and we'll set here a password. I think I cannot use a dash here. So okay, we can create a database just like that. And we will be creating our database, our SQL database in here. Okay, after this is done, you'll have these red lines that look scary, but this is nothing, doesn't mean that you have an error or something. And the final step of creating your Flutter web project is actually going down. You can use web dev serve, but since we want to use hot reload, we will go down here and we will run this command here. So after we copy this line, we'll paste it into our terminal and hit enter. And everything will be running smoothly and perfectly. Okay. So our database is, you just hit php my admin, because this is where we can manage our MySQL, our SQL database, if you're not familiar with web development or with PHP. So this is done. What we can do here for now is we can click in here, we can create a table, and I'm going to call this table users. And for now we are only going to need the ID, which is the user ID. So to make it clear, you can use user slash underscore ID, which is going to be int length 11. And don't forget to check this AI. This is not artificial intelligence, is auto increment, because we want the ID to increment every time we have a new entry on the table. And now we are going to have username, we are going to have email, and finally we're going to have his password. And are going to be varchar, because we're going to use text, not just numbers. So we're going to use varchar, which means variable characters. To 55, we are going to give the length of these fields in here. Okay, I can just hit save. Okay, and we have our users table just like that. And now let's create another one. Let's create another table, which is going to be our second table, and the name of this table is going to be posts. And here we're going to have post ID, and then we are going to have title, and then we are going to have body, and then we are going to have author, seems like we may need okay, we have it out there here, category, and what else can we need in this? Author ID and date. Okay, these fields are going to be varchar, all of them. Okay, perfect. And here I'm going to give length 11, and for this I'm going to give 255, 255, 255, all of the fields. Okay, and I'm going to hit save. And we may need to add more tables afterwards, but for now we can just stop here. Okay, so what we did, we have we quickly set up our Flutter web, and we have our server running as well. So if we go here, we have the local host in here, so you can just click on it, and if you click on the local host, we have this very first Flutter project. And if you're familiar with Flutter, you're familiar with this interface in here. So I'm not going to make this video much more longer than it already is, and to make sure if you didn't understand how to install Flutter properly, I may leave some links in the description to show you videos where you can get in depth into that. And hopefully you guys understood this, and from the next video we're going to start working on the actual project. So thank you very much guys, and see you on the next one.